Hi guys, today I'm going to show you how to export images and videos from p5.js that you can upload to Instagram or use as source material for other graphic software such as Touch Designer or Adobe After Effects. I'm going to assume that you know that p5.js is a JavaScript client-side library for creating graphics based on processing, and we have it up and running locally. If you prefer working with processing instead, I'll put a link in the description that shows you how to export graphics from that. However, if you don't want to convert your p5.js sketches to processing, or you want your sketches to live in the browser, let's see how you export directly from p5.js. Here we have a simple index.html file that loads a minified version of p5.js, and a file named code_sketch.js where one can find our amazing artwork. This is the end result. In order to save a single frame of this animation, we use the save function. Keep in mind that if the draw function is looping, a new save dialog will open every frame, so we should add a no loop before our save, as I'm gonna do here. The save function saves the canvas as an image. If we don't pass an argument, p5.js saves the image as an untitled PNG file. I will specify a file name called myimage.png. If we now refresh the tab, the image will be saved in our default download folder. As we can see, the image is here, so everything went according to the plan. As you might imagine, exporting a video is a bit trickier. p5.js has a save frames function, but according to the documentation, the function will only save the first 15 frames of an animation. As advised, we can use the CCapture.js library to export longer animations. In order to use the library, we either need to download it and load it in our index.html file as a script, or install it through npm if we already have an npm project. In this case, I downloaded a minified file of the library and loaded it in our index.html file, as we can see here. I'll put a link of the library's GitHub repo in the description so you can download it as well. I'm using the same sketch, but this time we want to export the animation. We can export a sequence of frames or a video directly. Either way, I'm going to do a bit of post-processing in order to increase the platforms that can read the file. I'm going to show you both ways. I'm going to go through and explain our code. We get an instance of CCapture and save it as a constant variable named capturer. This takes an object with various options as an argument. Here we define our frame rate to be 5, which should match our sketch frame rate in order for the capture to work correctly. We want our export format to be webm, which is a media file format that can be read by most modern browsers. Name is the name of the file name that we want to save. Quality goes from 1 to 100, 1 being the worst and 100 being the best. Verbose is an option that, if set to true, will give us additional information regarding the capture in our console. We define a p5 canvas variable, which we then use to save a reference to our canvas object. In the draw function, we have an if statement that checks to see if the value of frame count is 1. Frame count is a p5.js variable that is constantly updated on each frame of our sketch. We want to run the start method of our capturer only in the beginning of our sketch. The capture method of capturer is run every frame and captures the canvas. Note that we need p5canvas.canvas, since canvas here is a property of our canvas object. Lastly, we have another if statement that checks if the frame count is 30. Since our frame rate is 5 frames per second, this means that the duration of our exported animation will be 6 seconds. When we reach that, the no loop function prevents the draw function from looping. We run the stop method of our capturer to stop the capture, and the save method to save all the frames that have been captured up until now. We now need to change the script that we run and refresh our browser tab. I'm going to press F12 in order to open our developer tools and be able to see the information provided by the CCapture library, and refresh the tab. After this is done, we see that our browser has downloaded a file named movie.webm. Let's now go and see our file. While this is working fine, we might want a sequence of frames that we can later manipulate in another program, or a more traditional video format such as MP4. CCapture gives us the option to export our animation in more formats than webm. In order to do that, we can change the format option when we get the instance of our capturer. The available formats are webm, GIF, PNG, JPEG, and FFmpeg server. I'm going to choose PNG, which is going to give us a sequence of PNG images in a tar file. I'm going to also change our file name to zipped_movie. A tar file is an archive created by tar, a standard format in the Unix Linux world. In order to be able to use these images, you need a way to extract them. You can do that through a terminal or use a software that has a graphical user interface. On Windows, I'm using 7-zip, which we can download from 7zip.org. I'm going to save our JavaScript file and refresh the browser tab. As we can see, we get a new download with our tar file. I'm now going to extract the file so we can see our images, which should be 30, one for each frame of our animation. Since I have 7-zip installed, I'm going to right-click on our file and select 7-zip, extract files, and OK. That will create a new folder with the name of our file. Inside that, we can find our images. I'm using the arrow keys to go through them. You can use a number of programs to make an animation out of these images. I'm using FFmpeg, which is a popular audio and video software that runs in a console. That means that you also need a console emulator. If you're on a Mac or a Linux, you can use the native terminal app. I'm on Windows, so I use Commander. I'll put a link in the description in order to download it if you want. You can get FFmpeg from FFmpeg.org. As stated, FFmpeg only provides source code, but you can get a pre-compiled version for your operating system in the download section. In order to be able to use FFmpeg from any directory, you can place it on your path, which is an environment variable of the operating system. To do that in Windows, click on the Start button and start typing environment. Then click on Edit the system environment variables. Click on Environment Variables. And under System Variables, find the one named Path. Click on Edit. Here I have already added FFmpeg, but you can click on Browse, locate the folder that you saved FFmpeg in, and select the bin folder from its directory, since this is where the executable FFmpeg file is in. After you do that, you click on OK. I'm gonna cancel. Then keep clicking OK until you get rid of all the windows you opened. Now you can open your terminal. I'm going to cd into the downloads folder, since this is where we exported our video. And list our files to see that we have everything we need. First, we're going to convert our webm file we exported before to an MP4 file. In order to do that, we type ffmpeg-i, the name of the file we want to import, which is movie.webm, webm, and the file we want to output, which we want to be output.mp4. And just like that, we get our mp4 movie. Now to see if it works. And here it is. Now to convert our frame sequence to a movie. I'm going to cd into our zipped movie folder and list the files of the directory. We will again use FFmpeg, but this time we need to use some additional flags. Since we now only have frames as a reference, FFmpeg does not have a way of knowing our desired frame rate, and will by default use a frame rate of 30. This will result in an animation of 1 second, and this is not what we want. We instead set the R flag and then 5, which tells FFmpeg that we want our video to have a frame rate of 5 frames per second. Since we have a sequence, our input flag is going to look a bit different. We tell FFmpeg that our input is a sequence of files with 7 digits that end in .png, using this I flag and then %07d.png. We will set a pixel format of YUV 420p for compatibility with outdated media players. If you don't care about that, you can omit the pixel format flag, and FFmpeg will use the default YUV 444p. And lastly, our output file to be once again output.mp4. We run that, and we should be able to see our file. And everything is working fine once again. You're now ready to use your art as source material or share it with the world. Feel free to ask any questions in the comment below, and I'll see you in the next video.